In his essay, Beloved Community, Pierre Elias writes, "Beloved community is all around us and within us. It's how our bodies function, the community of our organs and blood, nerves and bone, all functioning together in a wondrous wholeness. The air we're breathing, the water we drink, the food we ate at our last meal are testaments to the beloved community we are part of. Everything is working together. Everything is hand in hand." The Living Sufism program we recently concluded focused on making beloved community more than a beautiful vision of our environment and our societies. Because only when we experience this hand-in-handedness within us and around us do we realize how belovedly we are all held, sustained, guided, and so on. The evidence of this belovedness, a sort of divinity actually, is quite literally all around us. From a mother's nurturance of her child to a beehive's devotion to its queen, from the life-supporting networks of forest mycelium to the gracious plentitude of life-sustaining flora. Even the heavenly dance of stars evokes a sense of how perfectly we are all arrayed and connected. But the daily pursuit of our needs, desires, goals, and responsibilities can obscure that evidence. We come to believe that the concrete things we see, the activities we pursue, the events we find ourselves in are realer, or at least more important, than that which is the source and sustenance of their existence. In this way, as the Sufis like to say, our daily lives lay a veil over reality. Without realizing it, this screen of daily preoccupations becomes the reality we live. It's truly a conundrum. How can we liberate ourselves from the illusory movie we may be living, yet fulfill our obligations, develop our personal potentials, and so on? Through the practice of beloved community. Through the clear sight and responsive heart this practice brings, we can transform that veil into a mirror, and that mirror into a portal to the real. Spiritual practices usually define specific procedures, frequency, and so on. The practice of beloved community, however, has no specific steps or methods. It is more an attitude, an inner tendency, than a specific action. One way to describe that attitude is as a continually deepening receptivity and agility in all our relationships. At the heart of this attitude is a radical acceptance of the right here, right now world as it shows up in us. Acceptance is not necessarily the same as embracing, although tolerance and forbearance are sourced in the same love that gives rise to friendship and closeness. We might compare this subtle difference to the compassion and mercy of a Sufi's lexicon, which are distinct expressions or names of the same origin. We could say that the acceptance at the heart of beloved community as a practice is that compassion, the ultimate flowering of empathy. Mercy, on the other hand, could be likened to the wholehearted engagement we see in, for example, the idealism which drives human rights activists. In many ways, this radical acceptance develops naturally in any sincere follower of a spiritual tradition, whether Sufism, Taoism, Buddhism, Advaita, and so on. All roads lead to this one belovedness. What better living image of that singularity could we witness around us and within us than beloved community? Simply stated, then, this practice is an ongoing remembrance in the Sufi sense of remembrance, more than a daily meditative routine. The key to this practice is remembering to remember, something we can do through witnessing and welcoming. Coming back to Pir Elias, over the last decades, he and his wife Rabia have taught and modeled these abilities through their Sufi work, as well as through their social and environmental activism, expressing these teachings in myriad ways. A couple of examples may help us understand how witnessing and welcoming open beloved community. Long ago in my time in India, I met a Madzub, a seemingly mad holy man, who taught me something important about witnessing. Often, in the midst of conversation or silence, while walking together or participating in an event, he would suddenly blurt out, apropos of nothing I could see, "Hello, hello." After a few days, I decided to ask him what this was about. He looked at me with a beatific face, eyes welling with tears steadily holding mine, and said, "Hello." Years later, I realized that this was his act of remembrance, or at least this is what I have come to believe, that every time this delirious devotee saw the face of God, he acknowledged that by witnessing it, by greeting it. "Hello." Whether we greet beloved community out loud or silently whenever we witness it, our acknowledgement of its presence and pervasiveness will increasingly make it the reality in which we live. The polarization of our societies has made the art of welcoming a rare thing. Not just welcoming into our homes, our neighborhoods, but into our hearts and minds. For many, the welcome sign is out only for those wearing the right baseball cap, spouting the same phrases, or insisting on the judgments they agree with. The welcoming at the heart of beloved community is unconditional, or it is not at all. This is not easy for those who believe that racism, fascism, anti-environmentalism, and other belief structures are absolutely unacceptable. How could we be expected to play nice with people with whom we not only profoundly disagree, but perhaps have grown to distrust? By understanding that welcoming is not the same as approval or sanctioning. The welcome of beloved community is a receptivity of heart. Agreement or disagreement with a particular view of reality is a mental act. And as the Sufis say, minds divide, hearts unite. It is from the boundless domain of the heart that the welcoming of beloved community arises. It is in that spaciousness, untrammeled by words and ideas, that we realize, no matter who is at our door, it is ourselves that we are welcoming or turning away. This way of welcoming may not be easy, so it would be wise to prepare the heart by developing the spiritual equilibrium necessary for a wholehearted welcoming before we open the door. This balance comes as we learn to stop taking sides. In a world clamoring with pro and con arguments, not having a strong opinion can make one feel defenseless. Yet, if we think more clearly, we realize that not only are opinions optional, they prevent dynamic engagement and evolutionary development by tying us to a position that often prevents further exploration. It's right there in the word. Opinions pin you down. Through the simple presence of witnessing and the open-heartedness of welcoming, the belovedness of the world flowing from us and towards us not only becomes more apparent, it becomes increasingly our happy habitat. As Pir wrote, the beloved community is all around us. Everything is working together. Everything is hand in hand.